Hello, fellow members of the Midnight Society. Welcome to a special episode where I'll be going back to seasons 1 through 5 and picking the best and worst villains from each season. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this The Tale of Fools and Ghouls. For the sake of everyone's time and sanity, I will not be covering every villain from each season. I'll be choosing my 3 best and 3 worst villains of each season with some honorable mentions. Now, these are only my opinions on these characters, and if you feel differently about them, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. All I ask is that everyone keep it civil and don't go assaulting others with words because you don't agree on who the best or worst fictional villain is. Now, I put up posts on Reddit, YouTube, Patreon, and Facebook asking for your favorite and least favorite villains from each season, and I'll be posting those results near the end of the video. Now, I will say this. Not every episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark has a villain. While some others have a villain that's not really represented as a person, and others still have villains that don't start out villains and sort of become villains and then redeem themselves by the end. It's a very gray area. So I will still be including those in my picks because evil is evil, regardless of how it's presented, and just because someone has good intentions doesn't mean they do good in the end. So, anyway, let's kick it off with my pick for the worst villain of Season 1. From the Tale of the Hungry Hounds, the Pound Puppies. The Hounds. This is one of those tricky episodes because it doesn't really have a villain. It was just a series of unfortunate events and adults who were idiots that led to the tragedy. Now, one could consider Giles a villain because he's an angry ghost upset about the way he died, but he doesn't do anything outside of whining. The Hounds present a physical threat, sort of. Unfortunately, the dogs they used for those scenes were just the cutest, happiest pups that I've ever seen. And they just wanted some kibbles and scratches. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they... Sorry. Anyway, only slightly more intimidating than the pups, because he actually had fangs. From the Tale of the Nightly Neighbors, Lex, the Child Vampire. This is another interesting episode, because throughout it, you believe the adults are the vampires. We even get Emma's dream that features Mr. Braun trying to bite her. We don't find out that Lex is the master until the end of the episode, which is a great twist, but we never see Lex as a threat, and even when he does reveal his fangs, he looks ridiculous. I wish they would have cast Lex a bit older, maybe even around Emma's age, so that we could have gotten a better performance out of him. It would have been nice to see Lex interact with our protagonist more before the big reveal to make it more impactful. While we're on the subject of villains who like to dress in black, my third worst is, from the Tale of the Super Specs, the Shadow People? ? Just like the Hungry Hounds, there isn't a true villain in this episode. In fact, one might make the argument that our protagonists are the villains because they're the ones who opened the door to the other dimension, but, the Lady Sardou of the alternate dimension did seem sinister as f***.
I don't think they'll be bothering you anymore.
I know a lot of people find the black silhouettes unsettling, but I don't know. People in broad daylight playing basketball in black spandex just does nothing for me. Especially when it's set to one of the sexiest beats they play at the club. Yeah. So I've heard. Anyway, before we move on to the 3 best villains from the season, here are my honorable mentions. From the Tale of the Sorcerer's Apprentice, Goth didn't quite make the worst of cut, though he was close. He basically comes back to life and displays a bunch of magical powers, but can't stop one barrel from falling into a pool? I'm glad he's dead, I really am. From the Tale of the Lonely Ghost, Beth, who really doesn't want you touching her f***ing stuff, just barely missed out on a top slot. While she is one of the greatest villains in my eyes, she doesn't have a body count. That I know of. From the Tale of Jake and the Leprechaun, Aaron also just missed out on one of the top slots because of how silly he was defeated, but I can't deny that he had the best monster makeup of the season. Okay, on to my third best villain of Season 1. From the tale of Laughing in the Dark, Dollar Store Pennywise, Zeebo the Clown. Now, I'm sure some of you are losing your shit right now because he's such an iconic villain, but I can't put him any higher on the list because he's not a true villain. I mean, sure, we don't know what actually happens when you choose the wrong door in the funhouse. Maybe you never leave and are murdered by a sinister clown. But all we see in the episode is that Josh steals Zeebo's nose, resulting in everything that happens to him. Which it isn't much, to be honest. While Zeebo's antics are reminiscent of Pennywise from It, they're also very mild, with only one casualty. But I will never forgive Zeebo for it. That bowl of pudding was in the prime of its life, and you just made Josh drop it all over the floor. You're sick. Sick. One of my favorite things about Zeebo is how little we see of him. I mean, sure, we see him on the signs and the animatronic version of him from the funhouse, but we only see actual Zeebo once, and for a very brief and frightening moment. If we had gotten more of him on screen, I think it would have taken away from the effectiveness of the scares. Our second place villain also doesn't show itself that often because it's not a person. From the tale of the dark music, the magical root seller with an appetite for human flesh. What I love about this entity is that it requires a human to be lured to the dark side with promises of bikes and other riches in order to obtain its victims. I mean, who knows how many victims it claimed with the previous owner and how many it will come to claim with Andy as its new servant. I mean, the fact that the entity knows what you like and what you fear also makes it formidable. We get a couple of really great scares from this, and one not so great one.
What's the matter, Andy?
Admittedly, it does have a glaring weakness in that it requires music to operate, but I assume Andy could just hum a little tune to bring it to life. My top villain of Season 1 can access his own music, though he probably thinks that all modern music is just racket. From the tale of the captured souls, the old man in a teen's body trying to lech on young girls, Peter. This might seem a controversial pick, but for sheer confirmed numbers, I have to give it to this guy. We know that he sucked the life out of and presumably killed 21 men, 15 women, 34 children, which already makes him a top-notch psycho, but 10 f***ing dogs on top of it all. He is a monster, okay? And it's only made worse by the fact that he gets off on it in his little masturbation chamber. I've just been informed that that is not a masturbation chamber, but the way he drains the life force from his victims. Okay, that may be true, but he's still going to need a towel afterwards, and you cannot convince me otherwise. In the end, sure, our protagonist gets away with her parents intact, but she also doesn't do anything to Peter's machine. As soon as they're gone, he can just book new guests and get right back to business as usual. So I assume he's still alive and well with an even bigger body count. Next up is my worst villain from Season 2. From the tale of the frozen ghost, the frozen ghost. What makes him the worst villain of the season is that he isn't a villain, but a perceived villain. Our protagonist thinks the ghost wants to cause him harm until it's revealed that he just wants his f***ing jacket. The ghost also has a dumb catchphrase in a silly voice. And even if he were a malevolent spirit, he still gets shown up by Maylene, who I suspect is the real villain of the piece. Anyway, interestingly enough, our second worst villain also wears shiny pajamas and has an annoying voice. From the tale of the final wish, the Sandman, played by Bobcat Goldthwait. I almost feel bad putting him here because he does succeed in trapping Jill in her nightmares forever, but he's also just so non-threatening throughout most of the episode that I can't take him seriously, which maybe makes him the best villain? No. I can't put him any higher. Our third worst villain actually has a lot going for him. The powers, the looks, the location. But he also has a stupid name and one of the dumbest weaknesses in the history of the show. From the tale of the Whispering Walls, Master, please don't blow on me, Raymond. This guy could have been one of my top contenders, okay? He has the Stranger Danger vibes, the stylings of a member of My Chemical Romance, the haunted house, the haunted bar, and a wicked sense of humor. Unfortunately, that is all undone by his weakness to wind. It breaks my heart, it really does, but I just can't approve of anyone who can be defeated by someone else's hay fever. Now, for the Season 2 honorable mentions. From the Tale of Locker 22, Mr. Schaffner, who just missed out on the worst of list because he's not a bad guy, he's just an asshole who doesn't check his lab equipment before letting students do dangerous experiments. From the Tale of the Hatching, the Taylors just missed out on a top spot due to the silly weakness of their species. Not as silly as wind, but close. I found the Taylors delightfully sinister, and we get confirmation of the children they fed to the master from all their shoes in the sewer. Unfortunately, I just can't award a top spot to any villain that could be exploded by listening to Savage Garden. Moving on to the best villains of Season 2, taking the number 3 spot is, from the Tale of the Midnight Madness, Dr. Vink and Nosferatu, the buck-toothed vampire. There are some people who don't view Dr. Vink as a villain, but they would be wrong. In his premiere episode, he murders people who can't answer his riddles and traps their spirits. In this nutbag's follow-up appearances, he takes a more hands-off approach, but his experiments always involve torturing people in some manner, and if that's not a villain, I don't know what is.
I am not a nutbag.
Vink's vampire is the primary villain of the episode, and while I think it looks much better in black and white, it still poses a credible threat, and even makes us believe that it killed everyone's least favorite theater manager. If anything, the reveal that Mr. Kristoff is alive lessens the impact of the monster. In the end, all in all, still a great villain, and the vampire's okay too. Just like a movie monster steeped in mythology, my second place villain may not even exist. From the Tale of the Magician's Assistant, the Emperor Palpatine cosplayer, Nazrak. What makes Nazrak great is all the ways he f***s with Todd, posing as the sexy spirit of the wand, posing as his mother before going all Evil Dead, and pretending to burn down Shandu's trailer. The reason I can't put Nazrak in the top spot is because we don't even know if he's real. There is a serious implication that Shandu created Nazrak to test Todd to see if he was worthy of becoming the keeper of the wand. And if that's the case, it would make Shandu the villain? And I can't think about that, or I'll start to question how I've lived my entire life. Shandu can do!
Always leave them wanting more.
Whether he exists or is Shandu in disguise, he has a great look, and if he just had better aim, he would have won! Anyway, the villain in our top spot kills for sheer boredom. From the Tale of Old Man Corcoran, the ghost child murderer, Marshall McLean. The ghost child murderer. It's funny because it works in two ways. He's a ghost child who murders, but he's also a ghost who murders children. Which is actually pretty f***ed up when you think about it. Sorry. Marshall is our secret villain, much like Lex from The Nightly Neighbors, only we get more time with Marshall, which helps in making the reveal more shocking. Throughout the episode, he just seems like a nice guy who wants to play hide-and-seek in a graveyard at night. Okay, when you say it out loud, it does sound like a red flag. Once you find out that all the kids are dead, it recontextualizes the entire episode. All the other kids in the crew were lured to their deaths by him just so that he would have more kids to play in his eternal game of hide-and-seek. And he doesn't seem to have any remorse for what he's done, and to be honest, it sounds like he's not planning to stop anytime soon. I mean, I don't know if a ghost can kill another ghost, but if so, Sissy needs to lead a rebellion and put Marshall on the ground for good. On to Season 3. My worst villain of Season 3 is, from the Tale of the Phone Police, Phone Company, an organization with the power to wipe someone from existence, but they get defeated by a 12-year-old and then do nothing about it. Worst villains ever. I could go on, but should I?
Do it!
Okay, I will. Damn, Shia, be chill. Everything about Phone Company is moronic. The way they capture offenders by not going and capturing them, giving the captives a phone and a big listing in the phone book, their uninspired rent-a-cop uniforms, I think they are the worst villains of the series. And keep in mind, my worst pick from Season 1 was a bunch of happy ghost puppies. Although slightly more intimidating, my next villain is almost as useless as Phone Company. From the Tale of Watcher's Woods, the nature spirit who wants to marry a little girl, the Watcher. While this is a highly regarded episode, I find the Watcher the worst part of it. Sure, it's his magic that supposedly traps the girls in the woods, but it's the hags that present the threat, and when the hags are freed, the girls are also freed, so did the Watcher just give up at that point? I mean, if you just lost 3 souls you'd been keeping for years, I think you'd try that much harder to keep the 2 souls that you just trapped. But no, he gets 1 rejection and f***s off out of the episode. Much like the Watcher, our 3rd worst villain of Season 3 is shrouded in mystery. From the tale of the doll maker, the dollhouse. I actually think the dollhouse is the best part of the episode, but as a villain, it's kind of weak suck. The implication is that Susan has been in the dollhouse for a long time. She is almost fully a doll, but is still not quite. When Melissa enters the dollhouse, she starts turning into a doll at a rapid pace, which, I get for the episode's short runtime, but the house needed more threats. Maybe like a spider that seemed gigantic because of how small the girls are, or, some more obstacles to prevent them from escaping. One could make the argument that the fake jump is a good deterrent, but I ask you this. If you were trapped in a dollhouse and had the option of jumping a couple of floors to the grass below or turning into a doll, is there really a choice to be made? Now, before we get on to the best villains of the season, here are my Season 3 honorable mentions. From the tale of the curious camera, the camera gremlin, goblin, or whatever it was, just missed out on one of the worst of spots, because while it could be deadly, it has some serious limitations. I mean, you can effectively defeat the camera by locking it in a cupboard, or just don't take photos with it and it can't hurt anyone. From the tale of the bookish babysitter, Belinda, the witchy watcher of wee ones, who missed out on a top spot because she's not really a villain. I mean, sure, she torments children with magic and their own imagination, and I would say even takes some delight in it, but it's not to harm the children, like she's teaching them a lesson. She and the Crimson Clown should team up and do a seminar or something. They could call it Dead Talks, where you're going to leave a better person, or die. Moving on to the best villains of the season, our 3rd spot is going back to an episode I already covered here. From the Tale of Watcher's Woods, the Hags. What can I say about these tortured souls? They are everything the Watcher isn't. Fun, menacing, and willing to kill if they don't get what they want. The fact that they have a tragic backstory of being 3 little girls the Watcher trapped in the woods only enhances their villainous presence. They have been driven mad by years of torment and have become villains of circumstance. The fact that they get freed at the end and have some closure is just icing on their ghostly cake. Ghost cake. All the flavor, half the calories. It's not 0 calories like a lot of people think. The ectoplasm still has calories, guys. Don't kid yourselves. Okay, you can't just gorge yourselves on ghost cake without repercussions. Anyway, my 2nd place villain from Season 3 also isn't the titular character. From the Tale of the Crimson Clown, Sam, or as I like to call him, Assface. And just to be clear, that is in reference to him being an ass who has a face. It's not an insult to his appearance.
What a bunch of crud.
When you really delve into the heart of the episode, the Crimson Clown isn't a villain. He's just the 3 ghosts from A Christmas Carol there to teach Sam Ebenezer Scrooge the error of his ways. Sam is a remorseless little twat goblin who deserves much worse than he got. In the episode, we see him do more villainy than we see from most Are You Afraid of the Dark villains. He steals, he lies, he pushes strangers, he delights in the suffering of others. He is a great villain because I hate him. I wish the Crimson Clown would have ripped his f***ing nuts off. Okay, I have to move on because this has now gone to an unhealthy place. My favorite villain of Season 3 is, from the Tale of the Carved Stone, Brother Septimus. What I love about Frank Gorshin's portrayal is the over-the-top scenery chewing this guy does. He makes a meal out of every scene, and I think a younger viewer would find him terrifying. He's evil, possibly immortal, he delights in murder, and his most damning offense, he doesn't trim his fingernails.
You shall have the honor.
His biggest weakness was loving the sound of his own voice. If he just stopped monologuing, he would have won. Anyway, next up is my worst villain of Season 4. From the Tale of the Silent Servant, the Slowpoke Scarecrow. While I love the look of the monster, it really isn't a villain. It's a golem brought to life by magic and compelled to do things. The things that it does in this episode aren't even malevolent. Even when it tries to kill Mr. Peterson, it's an accident because the child didn't choose his words wisely. I mean, you put all that with the fact that the monster moves slower than a snail, and I'm not talking about a racing snail, you've got the worst villain of the season. My second worst villain is another non-villain. From the tale of the room for rent, the ghost with a sinister face, John. Now, John meets more of the villain Bill than the Scarecrow because he does have a purpose and it would cause harm to another person. He's not evil, he just feels wronged for the life he didn't get to live. A life, it turns out, he wouldn't have gotten to live had he lived. And finding that out, he gives up his misguided quest and returns to the Beyond. While he does have a great villain face, he never gets to capitalize on it. My third worst villain is another ghost with a bone to pick. From the tale of Cutter's treasure, the eternally angry pirate, Captain Cutter. My biggest issue with Cutter as a villain is how little the story develops him. And this was over 2 episodes. We learned virtually nothing about him. What slightly saves it is Charles Dutton's venomous performance as the character. He was intimidating whenever he was on screen, but that's just not very often. A waste of talent and story as far as I'm concerned. Now for my Season 4 honorable mentions. From the tale of the renegade virus, the Virus. This little menace just missed out on the worst of list because while I found his antics annoying, I did think he was a bit more of a threat than those that did make the list. From the tale of the quiet librarian, the Librarian. This keeper of the quiet room just missed out a top spot because we didn't get enough of her, nor did she utilize her powers of silence to their fullest extent. My pick for the third best villain of the season is something of a villain trend for the season, and that would be another ghost who feels they were wronged. From the tale of train magic, the conductor who would rather a child die so that he can live, Ray Lawson. I thought Ray was a decent villain. He had selfish motivations brought on by years of repeating a mistake that cost him and the train passengers their lives. He was willing to subject a child to his fate so long as it meant he could be free, which is f***ed up. My biggest issue with Ray was that he didn't get to villain it up enough. The second best villain of the season is another ghost, but this one is evil through and through. From the tale of the Fire Ghost, the specter who likes to wear oversized shirts, the Fire Ghost. This episode had a great villain for a couple of reasons. One, we're sort of led to believe that Jake might be the bad guy, and then we get the twist that the friendly cop is actually the fire spirit. And once he goes full evil, he's fantastic. Fire is scary already, and this actor's portrayal of it personified is great. I just wish that we had more time with him in his final form, and I also wish that his weakness would have been more complex than just giving him the Flashdance treatment. What really sets this ghost apart from other Are You Afraid of the Dark ghosts is that it's not a ghost, really, but the spirit of something dangerous. For that, you don't need a complex backstory. Fire can be bad, so this ghost is bad. Just let him cook. That was an accident, but I'm not going to apologize for it. For my favorite villain of Season 4, we finally break free from the ghost shackles. From the tale of the unfinished painting, Mrs. Briar. While technically speaking, it's the hunter that demands the sacrifices, it's Mrs. Briar using the hunter's power to keep herself young-ish. She's been doing it for centuries, which means she has killed a lot of teenagers and produced a lot of shitty artwork, and I'm not sure which is the bigger crime, really.
You cannot stop me.
Vivian Race really brings Mrs. Briar to life. When she goes full villain, you get the crazy in her eyes, and it's wonderful. I don't even think we needed the hunter. Just have her as a witch that traps the spirits in the paintings and paintbrushes to keep herself young. Same end result, but we could have devoted another minute or two to her performance. On to the final season from the original Midnight Society. My worst villain from Season 5 is, from the tale of the jagged sign, the hot ghost that wants others to fall off the same cliff he did, Joshua. This is another episode where the villain isn't really a villain. He's trapped in a cycle because his love never showed up and he fell to his death thinking that she didn't love him. When he lures Claudia up to the cliffs, it's not to exact revenge, it's to get answers. He's not even really perceived as an angry spirit in the episode, which easily makes him the worst villain of the season. Our second worst villain of the season does have ill intent, but he's also kind of an idiot. From the tale of the Manaha, the easily duped shaman. For a guy who used the made-up Manaha to scare others, he sure falls for his own con real fast. That, coupled with the fact that he doesn't really do much in the episode, makes him a terrible villain. The only reason he beat out Joshua is because he actually is a villain. And speaking of villains who are useless, our third worst villain of Season 5 is, from the Tale of Badge, the weird animal man who loves to laugh, Badge. This one hurts a bit, because I like Badge. Roland Smith's performance is great, but the character is let down in a lot of other ways. He only felt imposing for a brief moment before Willie gets home. Once she's back, it feels like she's just stalling until Gwen gets her shit together. I never felt like anyone was in any danger from our villain. Moving on to my Season 5 honorable mention, of which there's only one. From the Tale of the Chameleons, the Chinese water dragon disguised as a human, the evil chameleon. I mean, count this as a fourth place if you want, but I really liked this villain, and they got away with it in the end, so they're okay in my book. I just liked these other villains a little bit more. Speaking of which, my third favorite villain of Season 5 is, from the Tale of the Mystical Mirror, the hag with the face of an angel, Miss Valenti. While not getting to go full crazy train the way a lot of villains do, she was threatening in an entirely different way. She doesn't kidnap her victims, well, not initially, anyway. She seduces them using the lure of beauty and popularity. Her eternal beauty routine does take a weird turn, with her turning the girls into dogs or wolves or whatever and kneading their tongues, which is why she's in third place, but her death scene is probably the most satisfying from the series. While Miss Valenti was glued to her mirror, I'm pretty sure our second place villain has never seen one. From the Tale of the Dead Man's Float, the creature that is not covered in blood, we swear, the corpse. Aside from being the most terrifying looking monster from the series, this vengeful ghost is angry for being buried under a pool and has no issues drowning whoever he comes across. He has some devious ways to get around once he becomes visible, and while he still moves super slow, you feel the terror whenever he's on screen. And while we get almost nothing in backstory, this isn't really that kind of villain. It's the silent monster, the mindless killing machine, and that's really enough for this story. The villain in my top spot doesn't actually have a body count in their episode, but they're frightening nonetheless. From the Tale of the Night Shift, the creature with the most sinister line in all of Are You Afraid of the Dark, the vampire. This villain doesn't appear as himself for most of the episode, opting to look like teen girls for some reason, but when we finally get our monster, it is a great makeup and brought to life by our ghost who was also looking for a room for rent, Andreas Apergus. This time, he gets to play a serious villain, and boy does he.
I shall drop you and then lick up what's left.
Our monster ends up biting almost everyone in the hospital, but none of the bites are lethal since it was just making everyone slaves. It's the one thing I never understand about vampire stories. Why would any vampire want to turn the rest of the world into vampires? The last time I checked, you use humans as food, so a world entirely of vampires would just die without a food source. If I were a master vampire, I'd maybe make one or two other vampires, so I'd have someone to hang with for all time. But the moment they broke the rules and made the vampires of their own, I'd kill a lot of them. I already can't go out in the f***ing sun. I don't need someone making rivals for my food source as well. I feel I've gotten off track here. Anyway, the point is, I love vampires, and the one from the Night Shift is my favorite from the series.
It's like a candy store.
So, those were the best and worst villains, according to me, from seasons 1 through 5 of Are You Afraid of the Dark. Now, it's time to know what you all thought. I'm going to list the best and worst villain of each season according to the posts I put up. Let's start on season 1.
Logical.
Your pick for the worst villain was my pick for the best villain, Peter from The Tale of the Captured Souls. I will accept your results because this is a popularity contest, but the number of victims don't lie, people! Anyway, your pick for the best villain of season 1 was a bit of a toss-up. The votes were split between Dr. Vink and Zebo the Clown, both played by Aaron Tager, interestingly enough. I'm going to give it to Zebo because there were a lot of votes for Dr. Vink that didn't specify which season they were referring to, so Vink is going to get a special award that I'll announce later.
Wonderful! Wonderful!
Your pick for the worst villain of season 2 was the werewolf from The Tale of the Full Moon. That's fair. It's a forgettable episode with a forgettable non-villain villain. Your pick for the best villain of Season 2 was another toss-up, this time between Master Raymond from The Tale of the Whispering Walls and Dr. Vink / Nosferatu from The Tale of the Midnight Madness. Ultimately, it goes to Vink and Nosferatu because while the likes were equal, Raymond had a couple of dislikes that lowered his rankings. Well, I have to say, those results just blew me away. Well, not me, but... Your pick for the worst villain of Season 3 was Phone Company from The Tale of the Phone Police. Suck it, Tucker! Sorry. Look, I don't say that because I hate Tucker. I mean, I do hate him, but I only say it because I'm legally obligated to say it at least once per episode now.
Siesta time, man. Wake me up if it gets good.
Your pick for the best villain of Season 3 was the Ghost from The Tale of the Quicksilver, and I'll try not to hold that against you. Your pick for the worst villain of Season 4 is the Keeper from The Tale of the Closet Keepers, and your pick for the best villain of Season 4 is Captain Jonas Cutter of The Tale of Cutter's Treasure. The captain couldn't be here to accept the award personally because he is trapped in that cave for all of eternity. I did speak with the captain earlier, and he wanted to express to those of you that voted for him how much he'd like you to get him out.
Curse you! Curse you!
And finally, we are at Season 5. Your pick for the worst villain of Season 5 is Badge from The Tale of Badge. Can't argue with that. Great makeup and a performance on a poorly written character. Your pick for the best villain of Season 5 is probably no surprise to anyone, even though the vampire from The Tale of the Night Shift gave it a little run for its money. It's the corpse from The Tale of the Dead Man's Float. I mean, it's a solid pick, and one of the scariest monsters from the whole series, though, just like the shark in Jaws, I mean, stay away from the water and you're fine.
What a geek.
One final award to give out. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Vink had a ton of votes for him that didn't specify which season, along with a bunch of votes that did, which makes Dr. Vink the best villain of all 5 seasons of the original run of the show. Congratulations, you nutbag. I knew you could do it. Thank you all for participating in the post for this video. There were so many comments across Reddit, YouTube, Patreon, and Facebook. If you feel like your favorite or least favorite villain from seasons 1 through 5 of Are You Afraid of the Dark got shafted, drop them in the comments. Let's discuss. Be sure to check out the next video on the best and worst episodes of Season 4. Until then, are you afraid of the dark? Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and a share. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when more of these videos go up. Peace out, homies.